Welcome back. Today we're getting into something that, if it hasn't come up already in your leadership experience, it will soon and probably will continue to show up throughout your life, whether you're leading a professional role, a volunteer capacity, or even in our family systems. We're going to discuss the component of making best decisions in combination with our natural desire to be liked by the people around us. And as much as we may try to eliminate emotion from the equation, and some people are pretty good at it, there are going to be times where we find ourselves challenged by an internal conflict involving what we think we need to do versus what other people would like for us to do or not do. And this has certainly happened in my life, and it shows up for a lot of my clients. And as I was thinking about it and writing this content, I realized that it's very similar to other simpler situations that we face. And I think that by making a parallel, we can untangle and demystify what's happening in seemingly more complicated situations. So the first example that I thought of was when we feed young children. I have a handful of kids, and I remember, especially when they were young and just starting to eat solid foods, that they'd have very apparent preferences about what they wanted to eat. And they were very bold about expressing their preferences and refusing what they dislike. Most kids, given their way, would probably live off of candy and potato chips, which as they're adults, we recognize is not nutritious. So we provide for them other better options. Even when they kick back, even if it irritates them, we understand our role in those situations is to provide and encourage and be firm in what's best, understanding that we have the ability to see things and understand things that young children can't yet see or understand, like the health benefits of a balanced, nutritious diet, which, by the way, once they learn and grow and develop as older humans, many, if not most of them, end up realizing the advantage of what we've encouraged. But in the moment, while they're developing and learning, they don't often like our decisions on food, especially if they're aware of other available candy and chips nearby, and they make their opinions known. But what's interesting to note here is that because we're so clear on the importance of our children's physical health, and we understand contributing factors like nutritious eating choices, because we're compelled and committed to influencing best case scenarios however we can, we approach mealtime and conversations about food with young children armed with the determination to guide them the way we feel is best. We're up for a bit of a challenge if necessary. Do we give in from time to time? Maybe, but in general, we stock the cabinets with more than just candy and chips. We prepare with options that align with our goal of raising healthy children. So I want to pause here and ask you, what is your goal with your team? Because if you're getting kickback on things, or you're worried about how you'll be perceived if you implement things the way you need to, or you're holding back to stay in good graces when you really want to address something, what will be really beneficial to you is the mental alignment with what you're wanting to impact. In the food example, we're encouraging healthy eating habits to contribute to long-term physical health. In our businesses, we're having an impact. We're always having an impact. And in order for it to be the kind of impact that we want, we need to know exactly the outcome that we're after. Is your overarching goal a cohesive, happy team? Is your goal increased openness and collaboration? Are you aiming for higher productivity? What is your target? Let me know in the comments what you're currently focused on and what your goal is as a leader. And if you have a list of 10 things, pick one to start. And as you gain traction in that area, you can build on that success. Now, like many of you, I naturally want to be liked by my teams. I want to create a positive and supportive environment where discussions are rich, we disagree well, and we discover exceptional solutions. But studying human behavior and motivation and coaching in the leadership development space has taught me a lot, including that what makes people happy in the short term might not always be the best thing for them in the long term. Think of the kids and the junk food. From their perspective, the popular choice is the junk food because it tastes great and it brings instant joy. In our businesses, things like dodging accountability, allowing unhealthy disruptions, inconsistent performance, gossip, the list goes on. There are tons of junk food-like indulgences that can and will take place without effective leadership. And if it goes uncorrected, you start to experience a revolving door of team members. Why? Because people work long-term where they have experiences that they want to repeat. And when the environment we provide isn't providing in some of the areas that we know to be critical to growth, development, and psychological safety, people look elsewhere and they leave. Not for a higher paying job, not for a closer commute. They leave for a better experience. And this is where people say, Chelsea, this is why I'm worried about enforcing the standards and not being liked. I don't want people to leave, which is the topic of our conversation here, because it's a gigantic misconception that people in general will leave if you're consistent and direct. And if you've generally held back where you would have liked to lead more boldly, then you may not have the personal experience yet in how this plays out. But what actually happens, assuming you've hired well and you have the right people on your team, is you clarify the standards, keep them consistent, provide feedback and support when things need to be adjusted, and people feel safe. They know what to expect. They have the opportunity to develop and contribute to an environment where they know they're a part of something important. They sense the integrity of the business and the leadership. They grow. They participate in the forward movement of the business. And when they have an opportunity for improvement and you provide insight and support, they adjust. And if there's someone on your team who is not a good fit, the more consistent you are and the more cohesive the rest of the team becomes with the increased clarity and support, the more the wrong fit will out themselves, which is actually good for everyone to know. I'm aware of the human resource condition, and I know the impact of being down a team member. And I very clearly understand the impact of what a wrong fit can have on the culture of an entire group if it's not addressed. And it tips the scale for me to lead courageously every time. See, people don't like to guess what's expected, or if they're measuring up, or if they're missing the mark, or what their team members might do or say or try to get away with next. I don't like that kind of ambiguity. Nobody does. It's exhausting. To lead strong, healthy teams, the business needs me to adapt and sometimes make uncomfortable changes to grow and succeed in providing the level of leadership that's needed. It's not just our jobs as leaders, it's our responsibilities to communicate promptly and effectively, which means clearly and transparently. And that's an art and a skill in and of itself, communicating eloquently. And if you're not great at it now, stick around because I coach on that a lot. But what I'll say in this conversation is that absolutely 100%, the only way to improve on your delivery is to deliver a lot daily. I strongly recommend that you get in the habit of putting on your detective glasses so that you can be aware of what needs to be on your radar and address those things as they come up. And that goes for the good things too. The more communicative you are with your team, the better they will be at self-monitoring, because what you choose to point out is what they believe is most important to you. So earlier, when I asked you to think of your current goal, your team ought to know what the goal is if they don't already. When everyone's on the same page, it creates cohesion and corrective conversations because we can explain how our feedback aligns with our goals. And we can involve our team members in the process of creating an environment of trust and understanding. We can seek their input. If the goal is to create increased openness and collaboration, and we're addressing an issue of delayed communication, we can find out from our team members what their preferences are on communication, what they feel would be most effective in improving teamwork. We can work through the discomfort together and come out stronger, just like kids grow into healthier adults with the right diet and guidance. But we have to be up for the initial discomfort. We have to be willing to feel the fear of not being liked and invest in more prompt and open communications, which just might result in healthier and happier teams. For more information, you can check out my website or find me on social and subscribe to this channel for more training and content.